Guys, we're in a sub battle here at Vikings Now, and we are racing to 15,000 subs with Saints Now and the Broncos Breakdown. Nothing would make me happier if we could beat both those channels to 15,000 subs. We're kind of in a hole right now. We're kind of in last place, but hey, it starts now. It could start with you by hitting that subscribe button. It's completely free. Help us out here and hit that sub button below. Welcome to the Vikings Now. I am your host, Patrick Siepman, for today's show. And on today's show, we got 5 trades the Minnesota Vikings can make during the NFL Draft. I think the Vikings are going to make moves during the 2023 NFL Draft. And I got 5 possible trade ideas for the Minnesota Vikings. And starting off with the biggest name around the latest Vikings trade rumors, and that's Dalvin Cook. And I got Dalvin Cook potentially going to the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots, they let go of Damian Harris. They do have Ramondre Stevenson coming back. But a little trade I cooked up in the lab was just the Vikings getting their 4th round pick in the upcoming draft for Dalvin Cook. I don't think Dalvin Cook has 3rd, 2nd round trade value anymore, but I do think you could get a 4th out of him. And with the Vikings only have 5 picks in this year's upcoming draft, that's a move that I think the Vikings could make. Because Dalvin Cook, the past 4 seasons, the yards per carry have gone down every single year since the 2020 season. 5.1 in 2020. 4.7 in 2021, and 4.4 in 2022. Dalvin Cook just hasn't been the same running back that he has been in years past. And this is a graphic I love showing on the channel here. Rushing yards over expected. So the nerds at PFF, they kind of get into the lab and they say, hey, on this run, this is how many yards the running back is supposed to have. And Dalvin Cook this past season, he was in the negative. Yes, that 2020 season, Dalvin Cook was exceptional. He was probably the best running back in the NFL. You could definitely make an argument for that. But this past season, he just hasn't been the same guy. And I understand the offensive line for the Vikings dealt with injuries, especially in the later part of the season. But I just don't think Dalvin Cook kind of has the same juice as he used to have. But my take on this, I would be shocked, honestly, if Dalvin Cook is on the Vikings roster at the start of next season. I think the Vikings re-signing Alexander Mattison during free agency, signed him to a 2-year, $7 million deal. And just how we know how analytical Vikings GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is, I just don't really see them giving $20 million per year on next year's cap to the running back position, especially since it's such a replaceable position. And with how deep this upcoming draft class is with running backs, they are meeting with Dwayne McBride, the running back out of UAB today. So I just kind of putting the puzzle pieces together. I would be shocked if Dalvin is on the roster this upcoming year. But would you guys accept this trade, the Dalvin Cook for a 4th round pick? Personally, I would. And if you guys would too, just give me an A for accept. But if you want to keep Dalvin, you still think Dalvin has a lot left in the tank, just give me a P for pass, A for accept, P for pass down in the comments section. Trade idea number 2 I have, trading for Anthony Richardson. There's been a ton of buzz. Apparently there are 6 teams that have called the Arizona Cardinals for that 3rd overall pick. And that's what I think the Vikings could do, because Richardson is definitely an interesting prospect. I mean, this past year at Florida, he was pretty good besides the completion percentage, but he does offer that dual threat ability. 2,500 yards, 654 rushing yards, and 26 total touchdowns with 9 interceptions. Personally, I would love this if the Vikings were going to trade for Anthony Richardson. I do think the haul would probably have to be 3 first-round picks. I think the Vikings would probably have to include this year's 23rd overall pick and probably the 2024 first and then the 2025 first-round pick as well. It's going to take a haul to get up to number 3, especially with the Indianapolis Colts selecting in that number 4 spot and then most likely looking for a quarterback as well. If you are going to have to go trade up for Richardson, you're probably going to have to get the number 3. It would be an aggressive move, but personally, I think it would be fun, and I would actually really enjoy it. Number 3 on our kind of 5 Vikings trade ideas for the NFL Draft is trade back. I think this is a very likely scenario for the Minnesota Vikings. Honestly, considering since they just don't really have too many draft picks. And the trade I had with them was with the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks, with them having 2 second-round picks in this upcoming draft, I think they could be a trade-up candidate. Maybe they could be trying to get 3 picks in the first round. 2023, they have a second-round pick at 37th overall and at 52nd overall. And the reason I threw out this trade idea was because I do think the Seattle Seahawks, let's just say they don't go quarterback at 5 or 20, and maybe they really just have their eyes set on a guy like Hendon Hooker that they could take at 23rd overall. They got 2 second-round picks. Vikings don't have a second-round pick, so maybe the Vikes could trade back. Here's some draft targets that I do think the Vikings were going to drop back into that 37-52 range in this year's upcoming draft. Kelee Ringo, the cornerback out of Georgia, I would love him. High upside, kind of a low floor for him. Josh Downs, a great wide receiver out of North Carolina. I would love him. I think it would be a great fit next to Justin Jefferson. Cam Smith, the cornerback out of South Carolina, he's a very interesting prospect. I like him as well. And then Steve Avila, interior offensive lineman, has always been a need for the Minnesota Vikings. So I would like him. And then obviously, I've been against trading for or drafting Hendon Hooker, but if it's at 52nd overall and you do trade with the Seattle Seahawks, I wouldn't mind that as well. But guys, be the GM for me in the comments section. Do you want the Vikings to trade back? They only do have 5 picks. Normally in years past, I hate trading back in the draft. I just don't really think it's that exciting. But this year, I'd be for it. And if you're with me, give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. And while you're answering that question, guys, help us out here. We're still in that sub battle, trying to get to 15K. It's a free, easy way to help us out here at Vikings now. We're closing in on 12K. Let's just keep it going. Go down there, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Helps us out. Now, number 4, a kind of a report that came out yesterday was Devin White. Devin White actually requested a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. And I think it would be an interesting prospect for the Vikings to bring in. I think Devin White is a fantastic linebacker. He has fallen off this past year, but the report did come out yesterday that he did request a trade. Tampa Bay's kind of came out and said, we don't plan on trading him, but that's kind of always how it goes. The player requests a trade, and then the team kind of says, hey, we don't have any interest in trading him. But I do think it would take a 3rd-round pick to get a guy like Devin White. We know the Vikings linebacker position is thin, so a 3rd-round pick I think would be worth it for the Minnesota Vikings. Devin White, like I said, he's not the same guy that he was during his Pro Bowl and All-Pro years, but he is still very effective. Because right now, the Vikings linebacker room, I love Brian Asamoah. You guys know that. I think Brian Asamoah has true All-Pro potential in the NFL. But Jordan Hicks, he's a slower linebacker. He's kind of looked washed up last year. And then there's really no depth at that linebacker position. But Devin White, man, he is a tackling machine. And over the past 3 seasons, 140 tackles, 128 tackles, 124 tackles. He has just been fantastic in that in that sense of just being a defender and being an interior linebacker in the NFL. He's been great. Devin White for a 3rd-round pick really intrigues me. I would like him because him next to Brian Asamoah, those two could do some damage. But on draft night, whoever the Vikings take, they're going to be rocking these sweet draft hats that just dropped from Fanatics. And we got a great deal for you guys. If you guys just go to chatsports.com/Vikings draft. We got the white, we got the purple, whatever you want. Go get your draft hats now. Chatsports.com/Vikings draft. The deal is only going to be going on for a limited time. So, guys, go take advantage of it. Again, chatsports.com/Vikings draft. 5th trade idea I had cooked up for you guys, trade for DeAndre Hopkins. His name has been flown around these trade rumors in the NFL for the past 2 months, it seems like. And I do think it would be very interesting if the Vikings were to bring in a guy like D-Hop. Yes, this past season, only playing 9 games, but he did still perform and put up 717 yards. And then we back to those 2020 seasons, that 2019 season. D-Hop, you could have made the argument, he was the best wide receiver in the NFL. And this is what excites me the most. Justin Jefferson next to DeAndre Hopkins. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. You have Justin Jefferson at the wide receiver 1, D-Hop at the wide receiver 2, and KJ Osborne at the wide receiver 3. I can make an argument that's probably the best wide receiver trio in the NFL. I think DeAndre Hopkins still has a lot left in the tank, and if you would pair him up with the best receiver in the NFL in a Justin Jefferson, just give Kirk Cousins that another option that he could go to. Because, hey, you think about it. We also do have TJ Hawkinson. We did sign Josh Oliver, the blocking tight end. You could get really creative in your 12 personnel groupings where you do have Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Hopkins, TJ Hawkinson, and Josh Oliver. Then whoever the running back may be, that would be an elite group of weapons for whoever the quarterback is, most likely going to be Kirk Cousins next season. But we're going to end this video with this. What do you guys think the Vikings' biggest need is heading into the 2023 NFL Draft? I've been pounding the table, and I still think it's cornerback. I just think with that cornerback room, only Byron Murphy and a bunch of second-year players, and you only really have 5 corners you could bring back. Corner, that's my number 1 position of need. But let me know, what is the Vikings' biggest need heading into the NFL Draft?